Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your attention. Palladium One is an exploration and development stage company focused on critical green transportation minerals. Through the presentation, I will be making some forward-looking statements, so please refer to our cautionary language. The metal suite that we are dealing with is both PGEs, copper, nickel. We have some cobalt as well. Our existing resources are in Finland, where we are, from an economic perspective, mainly driven with palladium, representing about 44% of the expected future revenue, and secondarily copper, which would be about 29%. The metal suite that we're working with covers all the different modes of transportation and are obviously very highly relevant from a thematical perspective. Three projects we have, and our most advanced is in Finland, where we have the existing resources, split roughly 50-50 between indicated and inferred. We have about 90 million tons in endowment currently. And in Canada, we have a very high-grade nickel discovery just northeast corner of Lake Superior on our Tyko project. It was discovered about 18 months ago with up to 9% nickel at surface plus copper. And we announced last week a second discovery on the property, just visual results, and we'll show you some of that. Most recently, we added a third project, again, magmatic sulphides, nickel-copper focus, this time in the Yukon. From a capital perspective, we're well funded. At June 30th, we had about $11.3 million worth of capital. 3.3 of that was a flow-through, designated for our Tyko project, where we had the nickel discovery. Balance of $9 million hard dollars for Finland and overhead costs as we move forward. Each of our projects is of a district scale, and as a result of that, we believe we have the ability to attract the attention of a major partner in the future. We are well supported from an institutional perspective. Best available information is we have probably 50-55% institutional holdings in the company. Our largest shareholder is Eric Sprott. As you just heard from Orion on the previous presentation, Finland is an absolutely fantastic jurisdiction. For us in particular, given the type of deposition we have in the mineralization, the fact that Finland has in-country smelting and refining capability is a huge strategic advantage. It's a day's drive down the highway to the southern part of the country. Where we're located with the LK project is about a 2.5-hour drive from the major port of Oulu, or a little over 2.5 hours from Rovaniemi. We have, as you can see in the photo here, excellent road infrastructure at the property. We're basically drilling 100 to 200 meters off of that road. We have ample amount of power, water on site, and it is a mining jurisdiction with excellent capabilities. So we really like where we are located in country, and most importantly, we are not in any Natura 2000 land, so no conservation lands to be dealing with. They obviously pose all sorts of issues from a permitting perspective. The nature of the deposition we have at LK is basically a large flat-lying deposition that occurred about 2.2 billion years ago. It was subsequently faulted up, as you can see the lower part of the image here. And the base where the mineralization would occur has been thrust upward to surface. So we're talking about very shallow mineralization, 1% to 2% sulphides, and very consistent homogeneous type mineralization. We have a property package that represents 38 kilometers worth of that basal contact. The entire 38 kilometers has been reconnaissance drilled, and very widely spaced holes, obviously shallow as well, but we know it's mineralized. So there's tremendous scope for increasing the scale of the resource beyond what we have. We also have an adjoining KS project, which is the feeder system to the Kalissima emplacement, and I'll touch on that shortly. But the LK project and those blocks that we have are represented on the image here. The red ellipses are where we have the existing resources. In all categories, we have approximately 4.2 million ounces palladium equivalent at $1,700 palladium price. But we have a slightly different mineralization up at the, up at the top of the property in the Kaukua area here, we've elevated PGEs along that trend. We've got a 7-kilometer long chargeability anomaly that we're following. We had our discovery there, the ellipse on the right-hand side. I think the expansion is going to be to that green ellipse on the eastern side. We already have one section in there. Geochemically, it's the same type of rock. Pretty clear path of growing the resources much larger. At the bottom of on the south side of the property, down at Hakiaho, we have less PGs. It's mainly a nickel-copper trend, and it's low-grade, bulk tonnage. But again, just along that trend, we've got 17 kilometers worth of strike length and a number of zones to continue to expand the resources on. This image just shows you some of the modeling that we have done. So I'll just point you at the bottom left image. Our existing pits from our resource are in the inset here. This is the 7-kilometer long chargeability anomaly. On the eastern side, we have this nice bullseye where we have existing holes in it. We just need to follow it up and do some more drilling and build out a resource there. And at Hakiaho, where the existing pit resource is, we can extend to the east again. When we published our resource in April, one of the things we did do was provide a sensitivity table to show how homogeneous and how good the project stands and holds together. So we flexed the palladium price assumption from as low as $900 per ounce up to $2,500. It represents about 25% flux or shift in upper and lower values from a contained metal perspective. As you can see, it hangs together quite well, plus or minus 4 million ounces combined, indicated, and inferred, irrespective of that price point. At the high, you're up at about 5.4 million ounces currently, and at the low, around 3 million. The other thing that we've done is we've invested quite heavily in metallurgy, because when you have these polymetallic deposits, they can be problematic from a recovery perspective. So we've gone through very extensive test work with SGS Lakefield, and we've demonstrated that we can produce a very high value copper and nickel concentrate, which is sellable in country, and we could also be exported, obviously, to other jurisdictions as well. The variability testing that we've done has demonstrated highly repeatable, consistent recoveries, no deleterious elements. The copper grade on the concentrate's 30%, so easily saleable. The nickel side, what has people a little bit confused sometimes, is they look at it and say, oh, you've only got 5% nickel in the concentrate. That's not as great as we would hope it to be. Yeah, but it's got a whole heck of a lot of PGEs in it. So when you look at it from a value perspective on a per ton basis of that concentrate, you're talking around $4,200 per ton. That puts it higher than the average nickel concentrate value of a Sudbury con or other Scandinavian projects that are currently in operation. So we've got a lot of interest on this product and encouragement to move it forward. This year, our focus on the project is to do some of the de-risking that larger companies really are looking for and as you need to advance a project. So we're focusing in on completing a lot of the baseline environmental work, whether it be flora, fauna, water. We're also doing an internal scoping study using one of the major consulting firms in Scandinavia, AFRI, in order to start looking at the technical deliverables. Where are you going to put waste piles, processing plant, get some CapEx estimates together. And that data should be coming together towards the end of this year. I'll just flip ahead to Canada. So in Canada, our Tyko project is where we had that very high-grade nickel discovery about 18 months ago. We drilled it simply because we had to shut down in Finland because of COVID, raised a little bit of flow-through money to attack this project and this particular idea, and ended up with spectacular results in a property that hasn't even been mapped by the Ontario Geological Survey. It's an atypical terrain, but had spectacular results. At the Smoke Lake zone, we traced massive sulfides, semi-massive sulfides over 430 meters. A lot of follow-up work is required. But based on that, we said, look, we really got to check out the whole property. And we flew a VTEM survey across the entire property, 3,500 line kilometers. We got numerous multi-line anomalies, as well as single-line anomalies. We followed those up with soil sampling, ground-based geophysics, and we started drilling about 2 months ago on some of the multi-line anomalies. The Smoke Lake zone is on the eastern side of the property. And what we announced last week with just a visual press release, we don't have the assay results, is the discovery of basically the same rocks. A little bit deeper, it's about 150 meters deep, where Smoke Lake's at surface at the West Pickle Lake zone. And we've got 4 of 6 permits, and we're actively moving that forward, and we have 2 drill rigs on site currently. Our geological model, as we've been investing in the property, has changed and evolved quite extensively, and we've really identified that on the property we've got a lot of these what we've interpreted to be dikes that have fed the large bulldozer mafic ultramafic intrusion that is on the north side of the property. Requires follow-up, and we'll be doing that. But for now, we're testing the various anomalies that we have ground truthed and pressing forward. So you should expect to see a fairly robust news flow over the coming months as the assay labs start getting us the data back. You can see some really nice core there from Smoke Lake. Here's the West Pickle Lake, basically the same rocks. Really looking forward to the assay results there. The RJ zone is a zone that was drilled, a couple holes into it back in 2016. It's about 3 kilometers away from West Pickle. Over 1% nickel, 16 meters, fairly shallow. So it was never followed up. So that's part of our program to do. And this is the Tyko zone beside RJ. You can see the rocks again. Lots of sulphides in there, and lots of opportunity to keep advancing this project. So the last project we have is the Canalask project, which we acquired earlier this summer. It's a more typical intrusive type system in the Yukon. It's at the very northwest side of the Clue Lane ultramafic structure, and it's a district scale. We have drill-ready targets on it, unexplained V10 anomalies. It has the potential to have both contact style as well as footwall deposition. There is a historic resource on the project from back in 1968. It's about 400,000 tons, over 1% nickel, plus copper, and there's about 500 meters of workings on the property as well. Our focus is going to be just off the Alaskan Highway. It's a 4-kilometer road, fairly shallow. We were there last week, and into this here looking for perhaps some traps in the embayment. We'll be applying for permits shortly, and hope to be drilling that early next year. Perhaps I'll have to wait till Q2. So Palladium One is a company we've tried to stick to district scale projects where you can attract the attention of larger strategic partners and in tier 1 jurisdictions, and obviously very thematically relevant with the critical mineral exposure that we have in each of these projects. And I'll pause there. I'm out of time if you have any questions. Yes.
Sorry, just wait for the microphone there. Thank you.
Have you done any metallurgical work on LK at this point?
Yeah, that's one of the things, but I think it's a big part of the story, and that's where we've done extensive variability testing. SGS Lakefield did the work, and that gave us the ability to define the fact that we can produce very nice copper as well as nickel concentrate with no deleterious elements. One of the challenges we had with the property previously is there was a passive metallurgical work done, and the master composite wasn't quite representative of what the deposition was. It was a little bit too high of grade, so we have a much more realistic grade representative of the project as well. Would be great if we could have higher nickel recoveries, but the fact is you've got some of the nickel sitting in silicates and you're just not going to be able to float it. So, from a processing perspective, it's bog standard 3-stage flotation. So we're very pleased with these results.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your attention.